This is the OTP presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. When it's game day for your health coverage, trust Farm Bureau Health Plans to draw up a winning play for you. They've been backing Tennesseans for nearly 80 years. We welcome in head coach Brian Callahan for his usual visit. Brian, a lot of these Mondays with us have been tough for you, and we apologize for that.
Yes, they have. But you guys keep it. Keep it enjoyable.
We try. So let me ask you a serious question. How have you been able to keep perspective through all of this?
It's a challenge, because everything's so week to week in the league, and you feel every loss so intensely, and then they pile up, and it just feels like it's a bit of a beatdown. So it is difficult to keep the perspective. But I do try to focus on the things that, one, I can control, and two, that are positive. And so you keep trying to find positives in all the experiences. Keep trying to build the team and messaging to the team the way that you want it to be done, and ultimately with an eye towards what's to come, and another personnel cycle and another off season and another year for me. The amount of growth I've gone through this year has been pretty remarkable. And there's a lot of things that I'll continue to adapt and evolve as I learn how to be a head coach, and learned a lot of hard lessons this year, and those are the things that sort of keep me going. The challenge of it is what really keeps me going.
Is the challenge of being consistent the number one thing you have to focus upon?
Yeah, it's an emotional game, and there's a lot of emotions that run in wins and losses, and I think I've always felt like the best teams handle winning the same way they handle losing, and I try to be that even amidst a lot of losses this year. You still try to be critical of performance, but coach and encourage and keep moving forward, and keep trying to get better. But those are the consistency part, I think, is something that I've had to really focus on, because you can get lost in the negativity of it all sometimes, and you have to work really hard to stay consistent when it gets really difficult. It's easy to stay consistent when it's good.
Sure.
But you learn a lot about people, players, about how people react to adversity when things don't go the way you planned and don't go as well as you want them to. But the consistency part is something that I work really hard at, and I think I do a decent job of it. But yeah, it's certainly not easy.
I appreciate Mike asking a broad philosophical question. I am here to get down to brass tacks, I guess.
Let's play the game.
Here I am. Have you decided who is going to be your quarterback this Sunday?
Not yet. I'm actually leaning towards having both of them play at this point, to be honest. I'm not sure who's going to start or who's going to play when, but preliminarily thinking that they both might play some this week. So, yeah, we'll see.
From that standpoint, getting a chance to play both guys, what do you think that gives you in the last game and gives you headed toward the offseason?
Yeah, just one more shot to play good football. For Will's been on the bench for 2 games, and Mason's done some good things, but yet still haven't found a way to win the games that he's played. And so just give them one more chance to go out and play good football and see if they can improve on their performance. Ultimately, that's what we're looking for, is just to find a way to win. We haven't won a lot of games, and need to try to finish strong.
As it pertains to injuries, are there any injured players that you're already ready to say they're not going to be playing on Sunday?
I think it'll be hard for Tajay to clear the protocol fast enough to play Sunday. I'm not going to rule him out or by any means, but concussions it's generally a 1-game miss for the most part over history. So I'm not counting on him being able to make it. Everybody else has a chance, and we'll see as the week pushes forward. Some of the guys that missed this last week might have a chance to get back and play. So we'll see. I'm optimistic about a lot of them, but you never really know until you get out to practice by Wednesday. So too early to tell officially, but optimistic on a couple of guys to get back.
Let's back up to Tajay just a second. He showed something different in the game at Jacksonville. He showed he has the ability to be a lead back, right?
He certainly did. It was a really impressive performance. I think the tough part of it was I think he took a 5-yard loss on that last carry that knocked him off his 100. So, but yeah, he performed fantastic. I mean, he looked explosive. He ran hard. He ran strong. He was physical. Protected the ball great. Put the ball in the right spots in the run game, and we run for almost 160 yards or whatever it was, and he was a large part of that. So, really impressive performance, and a bummer that he couldn't finish it out, because I thought he would have been a banner day for him on top of what he already had. So, good to see from him. He's played really good football for us for the last month, and that's really been positive.
As we turn to the Houston Texans, we know that their playoff position is locked in, but we don't exactly know how much their starters are going to be playing on Sunday. Does that mean that for you on both offense and defense, you have to have a pretty fluid game plan?
I think you prepare like they're all going to play, and then you just adjust from there. That's usually the gist of it for us, is that all their best players are going to play, and if they don't, they don't. I think they've last played on Wednesday. It's a long layoff between there and the first playoff game for them. So, I'm not in their building. I don't coach their football team, but I do think that my perspective would be you'd want some guys to play a little bit, just to keep your skills sharp and get yourself ready to go for the playoffs. And so we'll see. And we'll plan on like they're all going to play, and if they don't, they don't.
Well, and they've got some guys too, like Mixon, 7 yards short of 1,000 yards rushing. Collins is 32 yards short of 1,000 yards receiving. And those things matter
very much so
for personal goals, in some cases contractual
Correct.
goals as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Those are all parts of the process. I mean, those are things that guys are aware of. It means something to them. They're very significant statistical markers that guys want to hit. I'm sure those guys are going to try to get what they need. Just like, we want Calvin to get 1,000 yards. Those are all things that we want guys to be able to achieve and give them the opportunity to do it.
You beat the Texans in the first game in Houston. What are some things from that contest that you want to replicate here on Sunday?
I think the way our defense played and the way they covered, that was really an impressive performance. I'd like to see that again. I thought we rushed the quarterback pretty good in that game as well. I think we put CJ under some duress. Offensively, we generated some explosive plays. I'd like to do that again. But I thought we protected well against a pretty good rush group. So I'd like to see that continue. They got good players on the edges. They got a good interior rush. They got a good scheme. So it's a good challenge for us. A good way to finish the season.
All right, let's wrap up with this. Pro Bowl comes out on Thursday. Who are some of your Tennessee Titans that you think have had Pro Bowl-worthy seasons in 2024?
Yeah, I think Jeff certainly has. He's still one of the most disruptive interior players in football. Plays the run and the pass equally well. He doesn't maybe have the sack production that some of these interior guys have, but as far as impact on our team, he's one of them. I think Amie Hooker's played really well. I think he should deserving to be in the conversation with some of the safeties around the league. His ball production has been really good. I think also Luke Gifford as a special teams player is Pro Bowl worthy. I think he's a fantastic special teams player, on top of the fact that he's filled in very well for us at linebacker. But as a special teams player, he's fantastic. And then the guy that I think is really underrated is Pete Skronsky. I think Pete's put together a really, really nice season. I'd put him up against any of the Pro Bowl guards right now. I think he's been fantastic, particularly the last half of the year. He's been lights out. I mean, he's really playing good football. So those would be the guys I think are the ones. Tony Pollard probably belongs in the discussion, although it's a crowded discussion for running back right now. But I think Tony Pollard should be at least discussed amongst some of the better backs in football. So I think those are probably the guys that earn the recognition. Again, receivers are crowded. There's a lot of receivers that are really productive, but I think Calvin's played really well for us too. Whether or not it's a Pro Bowl or not, I don't know. I just appreciate how he's played. But yeah, I think we've got a couple guys that should be at least in the conversation for some of those spots.
Hard to believe it's the last one.
It really is. It really is. It's hard to believe it's almost coming up on a year.
I know.
Just the amount of things that have gone on and the work and the ups and downs and all the things that happen in your first year. It's, first year sort of coming to a close, and now you reflect and get better and go attack the second year,
Brian Callahan, we always appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, Mike Pereira, Fox's rules analyst. He is after the break. Stay with us.
Hey Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up.
Home is at the forefront of all that we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans.
Now joined by Fox's rules analyst, who was the NFL's vice president of officiating from 2004 through 2010. You know him, Mike Pereira. Welcome.
You keep saying those years, 2004. Man, I just feel myself getting so much older. My God. Seems like forever. I'm great. I'm absolutely great. Happy holidays to all.
Well, I interviewed you the year you got the job. You and I did a long phone interview in 2004 for Titans Radio, the year you got the job, and you were explaining what the job was.
Really?
It was great.
Wow.
We had Coach Mack maybe with us, or
Coach Mack was on the staff at that point.
yeah. Oh, he was still on the staff.
Mike, that was
Wow.
Coach Mack's first year on the staff for Jeff Fisher as he replaced Gunther Cunningham,
Wow.
who went back to Kansas City, the late, great Gunther Cunningham.
Wow.
All right, so two topics to begin with, and these neither has anything to do with your job now, except that you missed last season after you had some serious back issues. You had some back surgery, so it would be poor of me, poor form, to not ask you, Mike Pereira, how you doing?
I got my life back thanks to a surgeon at UCSF in San Francisco, a Dr. Sigurd Bervin, who somebody recommended to me. I was done. I was cooked. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed, basically. When I could, I was on a walker. And my life was over as I knew it. I mean, it really was. And when you feel that way, when you're active like we are, some of the thoughts that go through your head are not good ones. But it's almost assuredly they're going to appear. And I went through the surgery. I was fused on 7 different levels in my back. I have more metal than spine in my back. And 3 months after I had the surgery, which was approximately on November 1st, 2023 at 8:30 in the morning, 3 months after, I was walking a mile, and now I walk 2 to 3 miles, and I can do everything I used to do, except I can't tie my damn shoes. I can't bend over that far. And when it comes to putting on socks, I have a little contraption that I have to put my sock over and then pull them up with straps. But I'm the luckiest man in the world.
That's great.
I'm a football person. I divide my life into quarters: first, second, third, and fourth. And the fourth quarter starts over an age span of 100, starts at age 75. And I'm headed into the fourth quarter now. And I've been given a second chance, and I'm just the luckiest guy in the world.
That's great.
That's so good to hear. Well, my topic that we need to cover is a little more goofy. It's kind of silly. But in the season opener, you were trending all across social media. You were everywhere because you left Tom Brady hanging, giving him a fist bump. And I'm going to leave you hanging, Mike.
Oh, come on, Amie.
Have you and Tom Brady ended your alleged feud?
Yeah.
Are you still fighting?
You know, the funny part of that thing, of course, you don't realize it when it's happening.
Right.
But the thing is, the setup that I have in the booth, I have to reach down and push a button to talk. So just when Kevin Burkhardt was kind of introducing me, I didn't think I was going to say anything. I think it was just going to be a shot of us. And then he made a reference to me and I had to say something. So just as Tom stuck his hand out, I looked down to my button to push my dang button so that I could talk. And of course it looked like the ultimate rejection for Tom. And then of course they showed videos of him on the sidelines at different times getting ignored by something. So and then the following week, Dean Blandino was in my spot. And then they made a concerted effort to fist bump and make it look perfect, which made me look even worse. But yes, Tom and I have made up, and we have spent a lot of time together since then. And yet we have not found an occasion to fist bump. And maybe we will this coming week 17 or into week 18. But it's actually been a pleasure to be standing next to him during the course of games.
A potential Christmas miracle. We'll see the fist bump. All right, so let's talk officiating. Mike Pereira, is there a real movement afoot to finally change the pass interference penalty on the defense from a spot foul to a 15-yard penalty?
I so wish, Mike, that I could say that there is, but there isn't. I mean, the competition committee is deathly afraid of taking away the deep vertical passing game. And I am deathly afraid of the same thing that I saw when I worked in the league office and ran the officiating program. And those were 40, 50 yards incorrect calls that were made. They gave 50 yards, chunk yards, to a team that didn't deserve it. And I would argue with the competition committee that much like we do in the spring leagues now, where we use the college rule, you know, they always say to me, well, if a defender gets beat, then he's just going to reach out and tackle a guy. And I say, do you watch college football? If they're close enough to commit pass interference, they're trying to make the play. That's not true. They don't just tackle people. And I even conceded to changing the rule to say if it is an intentional act of just tackling a guy and not making any type of play, then we could make that one a spot foul. But no, I don't see it on the horizon. I don't see it on my time. Anytime they've tried to do anything with pass interference, including making it reviewable in replay, it's failed. And so I just don't see that they have that appetite, even though I sure wish they would.
Mike Pereira, 2024 has been the year of the dynamic kickoff. Do you think it's still too early to call that change to the kickoff a success that is a permanent fixture in NFL football?
Not too early to call it a success. Now, I think that it will change. But the changes will be tweaks. Look, what were the two reasons that they were looking for, the two results they were looking for? Less concussions and more returns. There are less concussions, although we haven't seen that final data. From what we've seen so far, that's certainly a positive. What about the number of returns? Well, they've gone from 19% to 32%. What about the average drive start? It's actually gone to 29.5 is the average yards where you know the offense takes over the ball. So I believe, although this is a temporary rule and has to be voted positively, it has to be a positive vote by 24 of the 32 owners, I believe it will pass again. And maybe if it kind of copies how instant replay went, they might say 2 years next time and make it a temporary 2-year rule. But what tweaks will they look at? I don't think they're quite satisfied with 32% returns. I think they want to see more along the 44 to 45% returns. So what's the easiest way to do that? Well, maybe back up the kickoff. So you kick off from 5 yards further downfield. But I think the main one would be take touchbacks. If a ball's kicked into the end zone and doesn't bounce into the end zone, if it's kicked into the end zone, right now it goes to the 30. I think they're more wise to move it to the 35 because now you're a total of 6 yards over the average drive start, and there's more incentive to keep a team from kicking it into the end zone. Look, the touchback last year was the 25-yard line. This year it's the 30. Team said, I'll give up the extra 5. That's not that big of a deal. Extra 10? That's a little bit more big of a deal. So I kind of predict that we will see the rule pass again, maybe for another 1 of 2 years, with the touchback going to the 35-yard line. And if they do that, I do think we'll be I think this rule will be around for quite a while.
Hey, Titans fans, SeatGeek makes it easy to find tickets so you can be a part of all the touchdown celebrations this season.
Whether you're buying or selling football tickets, SeatGeek is the place to do it. SeatGeek is the official primary ticketing partner of the Tennessee Titans.
The most disruptive idea in ticketing, a ticket that works. Expect the expected.
SeatGeek.
SeatGeek. Made a rookie mistake this football season? Maybe you should have had a Snickers.
Because now you can enter for the chance to turn those rookie mistakes into prizes, including a trip to Super Bowl 59.
Visit snickers.com/rookie mistakes for details.
Mike, in 2024, we have noticed the impact of replay assist very consistently. In your opinion, is that a positive or a negative for NFL officials?
Well, there, Mike's the main question. Who's it the benefit for? Is the benefit for the game, or is the benefit for the officials? I think the benefit is there for the game, those of us that watch the game. We have less stoppages that take 2 or 2.5 minutes. That's the benefit. Is it good for the officials? That's a different story. I'm not popular within the ranks sometimes when I say that I don't think officiating is as good as it used to be. Officials don't like to hear that. But the fact is, technology controls the game at this point. Back when I officiated, which was a long time ago, so we're talking about 96 and 97, we were responsible to run the game. I mean, if you threw a pass interference flag, you had to determine, even though you weren't absolutely certain and you were a ways away, you had to determine where the spot of the foul was. If there was a runner that went out of bounds, you had to determine whether or not he was at the 37 or the 38-yard line. And grant you weren't always accurate. But now, the big guy comes in. You call pass interference, and the next thing you know in your ear, you hear, put the ball at the 24-yard line. Okay, whatever you want me to do, I'll put it there. Guy runs out of bounds, you put him at the 37, put the ball at the 38.5. They've taken officiating out of the hands of the officials, which in my opinion has done two things. Made them a little tentative, waiting for input, and also protected some officials who are maybe struggling because they're changing calls that are on the field. But if we look at the grand plan and what we want, are more calls being accurately made on the field? Yes. And is the game flow a little better with expedited review or assist? Yes. So we're not going to see it going backwards. As a matter of fact, we'll see it going forward. You will see more activity in the way of correcting, for example, the rule of the year, face mask violations. That they'll certainly, in my mind, will now have face mask calls reviewed. So if they're not face masked, then they can take them off. If they're not hits on defenseless receivers, they can take them off. People say, well, that's not the problem. The problem is if they're not called, that's the bigger problem. But if you actually tell the officials, if you say to the officials, when in doubt, go ahead and throw it because replay can pick it up, then you're going to get these ones that aren't called that maybe they didn't have a great look at. Maybe then they will call them. And then, like I said, if they're not, then they can be taken off. Look, I'm a proponent of the sky judge. I'm a proponent of letting an official be in a booth with a second look at every play and let him correct it as needs to be. We're getting close to there. We just don't call it a sky judge. But, with the technology, with the importance of the games, with the gambling, it's more important that we get as much as we can get right, even though it is absolutely impossible to get everything right.
Okay, so you brought up the sky judge, and I would love it if you could clarify this for me. What is the difference between what the league is doing now with replay assist and what a sky judge would do? Is it just that it's a person on site in the building? Is that the difference?
Well, let's see. You've got now replay can use expedited review with the or assist with the replay person that's in the studio. Then New York is the next level, and they make all the big decisions on the reversals, the challenges, the confirmations of changes of possessions or scores. But Amie, it's getting close. It really is getting close. But they'll never call it the sky judge because the spring league's called it a sky judge, so they don't want to they want their own term. If it comes to they're gonna call it the master referee or something like that, and they'll have them wearing striped shirts inside the booth in the press box. But it is inching closer, and I'm a purist. I love the game. I love every aspect of the game pretty much. And I always loved it because it was a human game. It was a violent game. It was a game where, humans played it. Humans coached it. Humans made decisions. Humans fumbled. Humans threw incomplete passes. Coaches called bad plays. and officials made incorrect calls. And so the problem is the only expectation of perfection is for the officials, who have the hardest job of maybe all of them, because it's a mental job, not a physical job. And we always forget about the fact that when we all watch it, when the three of us watch it, you know what? We're watching it mostly in slow motion when they replay things, and from above looking down. I mean, they're on the same level. They're looking through 22 bodies, and they just don't get the look that we do. So replays, good for the game, but kind of de-emphasizes the importance to me of the official's job.
All right, Mike Pereira, you got to help me with something.
I'm here to help, Mike.
God bless you, because here's what I got. Is the whole offensive tackle isn't lined up on the line of scrimmage. He's lined up in the backfield thing. Really that big a deal to the point that it's been started, that people have started calling it so much here late in the season?
Well, first of all,
help me, please.
First of all, this is a hard one to help. First of all, officials are doing what they're told to do. They get the flack, but they're told to do it by their leadership, by the competition committee, whatever. Does it create that much of an advantage for the player that's lined up a little deep? Maybe a little bit. But ultimately, what are they also trying to do? What are they trying to do in this game? Who's the one person on the field that they're mostly trying to protect? The quarterback. So a little bit of, worrying about the tackles being lined up a little bit off the line of scrimmage. Well, they need to do that to protect that quarterback that they're trying to protect. So to me, it's making a bigger deal out of it than they need to make. But I think, help me with this one.
Okay.
See if you can understand this statement from me. We no longer officiate the game as artists. We officiate it as scientists. And here's what I mean by that. I think we have a tendency to over officiate the game. Back in my day, and back in the days before me, it was about advantage, disadvantage.
Right.
And if something didn't create an advantage and it wasn't safety related, you don't call it. But where they are now, where they are with officials, if you don't call things that they think need to be called, you get a downgrade. And if you get a downgrade, that affects your chances of making the playoffs. If you get 3 or 4 downgrades, it affects your chances from, working a championship game. I mean, if you get 2, you probably eliminate your chances from working the Super Bowl. So you're calling things just because they feel like they should be called, even though they don't understand that what they're downgrading people for doesn't have an effect. For example, at the end of a game a week ago or 2 weeks ago, they downgraded an official for not calling an illegal formation with 21 seconds to go in the fourth quarter of a 3-score game. You want that called?
No.
You want that interruption? When it absolutely has no impact of the game. The artistry in the game of officiating has pretty much left the scene. And that's what concerns me a little bit. It's not for the good of the game. It's for the competition. It's for the competition of the officials moving on and even staying employed. And I just think they need to be less a part of the game than more a part of the game. And all my guys hate me for saying that, but that's okay.
Well, similarly, the hip drop tackle was a point of emphasis going into this season, but it doesn't seem as though it's being called very often. Does that mean that the plan worked and players knew it was being emphasized and so they stopped doing it? Or is it just too hard to judge when that's happening and officials aren't inserting themselves, like you've said?
Yeah, well, Amie, they did tell the clubs, don't look for it to be called. And that's the same thing that happened with the illegal use of the helmet contact. Very difficult to call. And so they said to players, and they said to coaches, and they said to ownership, look, this is really hard to call. And so we're not expecting the officials to call it, but you can expect the letter from the league, which is going to take some money from you. So that's the way. And I felt less strongly about that. I felt like you could call illegal use of helmet. The hip drop, I was more concerned about. And that's why I said, if you're going to put these types of rules in that you say are so difficult to call, then make them reviewable. I mean, why would we not do that? Because you're basically giving a free chunk to a team that should have gotten it for the foul. And so have they followed the letter of the law? Have the officials called it? Well, guess what? We got to week 16 and we got our first one. We got our first one that was called on the field. It was wrong. It wasn't a hip drop tackle. So we're 0 for 1 on the field when we're trying to call the hip drop. Why was it wrong? Because he didn't elevate. His body hit the ground, and then the legs did get all the way over onto the ankles of the runner. Good God, it's a complicated one. That might be the most complicated call that the officials would have to make. So I think, certainly I don't expect to see one in week 17 or 18, and I don't expect to see one in the playoffs. But I'm always a bit amused when you put in rules that can't really be officiated. But that is player safety, and there have been a number of injuries, so I understand that.
Mike, what is the most important issue or issues that you think the NFL officiating office is going to have to deal with in this upcoming offseason?
I think it's going to revolve around replay. I mean, I really feel that, and how much more they're going to get involved with picking up flags on the field. Look, they did a couple of things last year already. They said if roughing the passer is called for a hit to the head or neck area, if there is no contact to the head or neck area, then replay can take it off. If they throw a flag for intentional grounding because of the fact that the quarterback got out of the pocket and didn't get the ball back to the line of scrimmage, they can go back and put him in the pocket if he was indeed in the pocket. So they've made these strides, which I guess are okay, but I have a couple of issues, in regards to that. Number one, they're using a different standard to me when it comes to and this is going to be hits on defenseless players. If they said we can pick it up if there's no head contact to the head or neck area, they won't pick it up if there is any contact, even ever so slight to the head or neck area. They won't pick it up. They won't make that additional judgment as to whether it's forcible or not. And so that to me is, look, if you're going to make it reviewable, if there's not forcible contact, then take it off. If it's just a glancing blow with the hand, it's not consistent with what you want called on the field. If you look at it and say, you're going to tell the referee, okay, look, I don't want that call. That's incorrect. Even though there is slight contact, and make it incorrect with replay. And then the other thing that's going to happen, I do think that in some ways it's going to open up Pandora's box, as I stated earlier, where if you let the officials know that their call is subject to being picked up, they'll have more of a tendency to call it. So let's just take face masks. So if they call a face mask, and then the league says, we'll pick it up if there's absolutely no contact, then if there is the slightest of grab that you wouldn't have wanted called before, then they wouldn't take it off. So I would hope they would get to the standard of it is or isn't a foul, period, and make that decision based on that. And I also think that if there are some that are so obviously missed, face mask, Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow, if it's so clear and so obvious and it's player safety related, and the officials looking through 22 people didn't get a look, and let them put it on. Let it put them on. We're headed that direction anyways. And so lastly to me, and this was my gift when I left in 2010, I said, make all 17 referees full-time. Make them full-time, make them report to their officiating place, maybe put it somewhere in the middle of the country like Dallas, and they go there every week during the season. They work together. They develop the same messages. They teach the same messages to their crew. They role play. They learn what to say, what the signals are. They do everything together. They participate with the head of officiating. They participate with the competition committee. 2 of them each year are assigned to the Titans, and they come to the Titans mini camps, everything. They're with them. Now, you don't let them work a Titans game. I just think that you have 120 some odd officials being taught by a very limited number of people. And to me, the referees are the most important because they teach their own crews. And so I would love to see them bite the bullet, spend the money, and get more consistent messages to all 120 officials. And, the league, and I don't like to criticize them because often they don't deserve to be criticized and are, but the league has had has a tendency to try to make things better by putting Band-Aids on. And Band-Aids usually, and when a rule change, it's a reaction to something that happened. I think they just need to take a big step now because the game's getting tougher to officiate. And I'm not for making 121 guys or 121 guys and girls full time, but I am for the 17 referees because I do think that will have a positive effect.
Now, you mentioned all of these officials that are involved. We also know that there's a shortage of officials in high school and college who are coming up the ranks. What are you and others doing to try and encourage more men and women to get involved in the career of officiating?
Well, we're trying to get parents to shut up. I mean, just to be absolutely candid, because all new officials start at the youth level, and the sportsmanship at the youth level is as bad or worse than any other place. They're not competent. They're just starting out, and you got parents yelling at them. And so what do? Quit. It's not worth it. It's not worth it for the money that they make on the youth level or the high school level, or in fact, even the college level, but that's a different story. But the shortage, as you said, Amie, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's just pretty much every sport, and it's every state. And the only people who are going to make it better are the officials themselves. I mean, they have to actually, they care about each other. They have to go about trying to find a way to get more people involved. And every time I speak to groups, I tell them that nobody, no athletic director, no coach, no mayor of a city is going to do anything for you. You have to care about officiating. You have to try to leave it better than it was when you first got into it. And there are ways. I started a foundation in 2016 called Battlefields to Ballfields, and we give scholarships to veterans to become sports officials in their communities. We've got officials in our program from Tennessee. We pay for their uniforms. We pay all their expenses. And we now have issued over 1,500 scholarships in 38 different states. It's not much. That's only 1,500. But if we could, all of us that are in this avocation, for most people it's an avocation, if we could step up and figure ways to do things like that to overall help our program. And ours has been kind of successful, and the success is retention, quite frankly, if you get them staying involved. And part of my thing was because, number one, I don't feel that we do enough for our veterans. Number two, I don't think they're going to be bothered that much by those parents that are yelling at them. They went through a lot more. But it is dire situations. Yet, I would tell you, if you have the guts to take on something that's so difficult, that's hard, to put your butts on the line, if you make it for 3 years, you develop lifelong friendships, a group of people that share the same frustrations that you have. And I'm telling you, all of my good friends, including the best man at my wedding, they're officials. And so I hope things get better because it's the kids that are suffering.
Mike Pereira, thank you so much for the time. We've kept you too long, but so much fun to catch up with you.
Yeah, I was prepared to go another half hour.
Oh, well, is that right? You're
I'm
doing the Brian Callahan show. Good. Amie and I'll just head out.
Yeah, we're done.
Go out for
That's
New
enough.
Year's Eve. That'll be great. Thank you so much for your time, and we're so glad that you are doing well. When we read everything last year, we were worried. We talked to Coach Mack about it, and he kept us posted, and it's not the same without you. I mean, you are the original in this field, and when Mike Pereira says it,
It is so.
it is so. We all listen. Now, we know you have problems with Tom Brady, and we hope that clears up. But
Well, listen, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You again, Mike.
Yeah.
And, I'm a big fan of Coach Mack, and as I said, I'm lucky to be sitting in this chair talking to you, and I will never forget that luck and good fortune that I got, and the great surgeon. And I'll be in Minnesota in week 17, and I'm just supercharged and happy to be able to do that.
Mike Pereira, thank you.
You got it.